Part 2. I became the richest man in the world by making meatballs. Author, Lanshan Luzi Y. Chapter 11. You get what you pay for, and the ticket prices for the upper-class warehouses are 10 times higher than those for the lower-class warehouses. Sure enough, the conditions are better for everyone. Not only is it large in area and brightly lit, it is also divided into a bedroom and a living room. Even the sofa in the living room is extremely exquisite and comfortable, and the floor is covered with a gorgeous carpet, which is very in line with the tone of an aristocrat. When Du was put on the big bed covered in blood, his nervous breathing stopped for a moment. Tears almost flowed from the corners of his mouth. Is this a bed he can sleep on? If he hadn't been so seriously injured, he probably wouldn't have even had a chance to come in and take a look. Bai Qianchun followed behind, her dark eyes rolling, and her eyes were filled with deep envy. Everything about this room is good, but it's a bit expensive. Miss, what do you think we need to do next? After the man in the suit put down Du, he didn't care about the large blood stains on his expensive suit. He pushed up his gold-rimmed glasses that had slipped and turned around. He looked at Bai Qianchun with a gentle gentleman's smile at the corner of his mouth. Asked. Bai Qianchun calmly averted her eyes, the envy in her eyes was gone, and she said in a cold voice, "Wait another 15 minutes for me to take the needle." The man in the suit was stunned. What about his broken heart? Du also looked over eagerly. Yes, wasn't it said that his heart was like a pieced-together wooden barrel, all fixed by needles? If the needles were pulled out, would he still be alive? Does the old girl want to give up on him? Bai Qianchun sighed, and then with a flash of pain in his eyes, he took out a porcelain bottle from his pocket, and poured out a turquoise ball that was as shiny as green jade. The man in the suit looked at it, his deep and shrewd eyes flashing. Is this it? Bai Qianchun explained in a low voice, this is called Vitality Pill. It has the effect of strengthening the body, connecting tendons and veins, stimulating vitality, and repairing all hidden injuries in the body. As she spoke, she walked to the bed and looked at Du condescendingly with cold eyes. With acupuncture and this vitality pill, your broken tendons can be repaired within 15 minutes, and your damaged heart will also be repaired to some extent, but you won't fully recover, but your life is saved. You have 2 options for the follow-up. First, take another vitality pill tomorrow. Your heart will fully recover in a week and become a normal person. Second, I will give you continuous acupuncture for a month, and then cooperate with your own with wood power, your heart will also fully recover after a month. Which one do you choose? The eyes of the man in a suit behind him were shining brightly, and even his glasses couldn't block the burning heat. He was looking at the porcelain bottle in Bai Qianchun's hand. Bai Qianchun lowered his eyes and smiled, then continued to look at Du. If you choose one, blink once, if you choose second, blink twice. But I agreed in advance that I will charge a fee. The medicinal materials required to make this vitality pill are expensive, the processes are numerous, and the techniques are extremely complicated. I have only successfully refined 5 of them over the years, so the price of a vitality pill is 50 million star coins. Du, who was so poor that he almost sold his pants, shivered. 50 million star coins. Even if you sell him, he won't be worth so many star coins, right? But the desire to survive made him blink twice. Although he was poor and might not earn 50 million in his lifetime, he still wanted to live. As long as he lived, he would one day pay off his debts. If he couldn't pay it back, Du gritted his teeth in his heart. At worst, he would sell himself. A smile appeared on Bai Qianchun's lips. That's good, she knew this poor brother would choose the second choice. So she continued, I also charge for acupuncture, but because we don't need expensive medicinal materials and because of our friendship, I will charge you 1,000 star coins per time, which is 30,000 a month, which is much cheaper than the vitality pill. Du felt a blow to his soul. For a poor guy, 30,000 is already a lot. This money-hungry devil. But he had no choice but to ask for medical treatment to save his life under the roof. He could only blink his eyes with tears to show that the deal was concluded. Bai Qianchun opened Du Li's mouth in a good mood, and accurately flicked the vitality pill into his mouth. The vitality pill melts in your mouth and turns into liquid medicine and slides directly into your throat. As the medicine flowed through, Du Li felt that the clamoring pain in his body was suppressed, and then smoothed away bit by bit. Immediately after the tendons and veins were repaired, the crumbling heartbreak also began to rejuvenate, growing at an incredible speed and gluing with the broken flesh. Du Li couldn't reach the level of inner vision, but he just felt that his body, which was originally heavy and sluggish, like an old man's, suddenly became dozens of years younger, and he could stand up and jump around again. The man in the suit watched as Du Li's face gradually turned rosy, and the brows that had been frowned subconsciously because of the pain also relaxed, and his weak eyes became brighter, as if all his energy had suddenly returned. This vitality pill is simply amazing. No one knows better than him that Du Li was really on the verge of death just now, but now he has miraculously regained his vitality and is so energetic that even the holy pool of light source star cannot heal him so quickly. Moreover, the holy pool cannot be moved, but the vitality pill can be carried with you, which can save your life at critical times. So he looked at Bai Qianchun with even more intense eyes, and almost couldn't hold himself back and said immediately, "Don't you know that this lady sells vitality pills?" A smile flashed across Bai Qianchun's eyes, just waiting for his words. The man in the suit, no, it should be said to be Yao Wengxian, the general manager of the Feng Group, the agent of Jin Yuanxing, Feng Yuyu's good brother, and also the most trusted person under Feng Yuyu. In the dream, she knew more. Yao Wengxian was born on the garbage star. He was one of the friends Feng Yuyu and Shen Baining met when they were living on the garbage star. He was the fourth child in a group of people. They grew up together and supported each other along the way. After being admitted to the military academy and coming to the main star, he can be said to be an important member of the counterattack protagonist group. He had also handled the marriage formalities between her and Feng Yuyu, and he was the only one who knew about her fake marriage to Feng Yuyu. The most important thing is that he has one advantage, that is, he is rich, and thieves are rich. Feng Yuyu's Feng Group is backed by Jinyuan Star. There are countless rare minerals and energy stones on Jinyuan Star. You can make a lot of star coins by selling some casually. As the general manager of the Feng Group, Yao Wengxian is naturally rich and has countless star coins. Bai Qianchun had her eyes on him when she saw him just now. The vitality pill is no longer important to her, not to mention that her injury has healed and she no longer needs the vitality pill. Even if she needs it, she can refine it again. She had saved the seeds of the medicinal materials she needed before. Now that her powers have been restored, she can plant them at any time and refine them at any time. The first priority is to sell the vitality pill for a large sum of money. She received news from the Imperial Crown Prince that the current situation of Muyuan Star was not good. If she wanted to develop it, a founding fund was essential. Du Li, it's so sour, the troubled girl turned into a devil's creditor, and the troubled brother and the troubled girl agreed to be poor together. I became the richest man in the world by making meatballs. Author, Lanshan Luzi. Chapter 12. Bai Qianchun nodded reservedly, "Sell, how many do you want to buy?" Yao Wengxian's eyes lit up, and he subconsciously wanted to lower the price, but when he met Bai Qianchun's cold eyes, he touched his nose and suppressed this idea. He just smiled and asked, "How many pills do you still have on you? Can you sell them all to me? The price is not a problem. As long as the effect is the same as the pill taken by the brother on the bed, I will accept any amount." Bai Qianchun rolled his eyes and said rudely, "You think this is Chinese cabbage? As I said just now, a total of 5 pieces have been refined, 2 of which have been used, and the remaining 3 pieces, According to the original price, 3 coins cost 150 million. If you have the funds, you can buy them directly. Yao Wengxian felt regretful. It seemed that this lady really ran out of stock. But he still had a gentle smile on his face and nodded politely, "Okay, I'll buy all 3. Miss, if you still have vitality pills for sale, please come to me." Seeing the two of them handing over the money and delivering the goods, Du Le, who was immersed in the thought that he could not die, came back to his senses and burst into tears. He is so envious. 150 million. 3 meatballs as big as fingernails can earn 150 million. The troubled girl who had the same problem before suddenly became a rich woman, and he still owed 50 million, ah no, 50.03 million, from a poor boy to a debtor. The contrast was so tragic that he couldn't help but feel sad. Fortunately, most of his heart had been repaired by now, otherwise he might have been overly sad and burped. Beside the bed, Yao Wengxian spread his palms and looked blankly at the 3 green balls he bought at a huge sum of money lying in his palms. A rare expression of confusion appeared on his gentle and shrewd face. "This is really just 3 pieces, and they didn't even give me a porcelain bottle." Bai Qianchun paused while holding the porcelain bottle, glanced at him, and said in a cold voice, "This bottle was specially customized by me. It can seal the medicinal properties and is worth 300 star coins. It means, I would like to give you a bottle as a gift." "You think so, but it costs money." The corner of Yao Wengxian's mouth twitched. He really didn't expect that the cold and mysterious woman in front of him would have this style of painting. He spent 150 million and he didn't even have the qualifications to ask for a 300 star coin bottle as a supplement. After looking into Bai Qianchun's dark and cold eyes for a while, Yao Wengxian tugged at the corners of his lips in compromise, "I'll pay you 500 stars. Can you sell me this bottle?" He couldn't go back naked with these 3 green balls. He couldn't find anything else that could be loaded with them. Earned another 200. Bai Qianchun felt happy in her heart and nodded in agreement, "Deal." After putting the vitality pill back, Yao Wengxian breathed a sigh of relief, then looked at Bai Qianchun, and asked with a sincere smile, "I don't know the lady's surname, why don't we add a communication?" Bai Qianchun, who walked to the side and sat down on a chair, raised her head and glanced at him coldly, "Are you afraid that I will blackmail you?" Yao Wengxian's smile froze, and he immediately denied it, "Of course not." "Oh, then what does my last name have to do with you? We are just an ordinary seller and buyer. We are not familiar enough to add communication numbers. The answer is just 2 words, no more." Yao Wengxian looked stunned. He was rejected? With his face and worth, there are still people who would deny him face. "This is really my first time doing it today, it feels quite fresh." Du Le, who was lying on the bed, felt happy when he saw Yao Wengxian's unbelievable look on his face. It was because of his creditor's ability that even the super rich people refused so simply. Then wouldn't he be a winner in life if he successfully added the communication number before? However, as a businessman, Yao Wengxian was still very shameless and held on. After being stunned for 3 seconds, he put a smile on his face again, then took out a paper business card from the space button and handed it to Bai Qianchun. He said politely, "Since the lady is unwilling to add a communication number, please accept my business card. If you encounter any difficulties in the future or need to sell vitality pills, you can come to me." Bai Qianchun lowered her eyes and glanced at the business card in his hand, paused, then reached out and took it, nodding lightly, "Okay." She had actually known Yao Wengxian's communication number for a long time. Feng Yuyu had told her before leaving for the Legion that she could contact Yao Wengxian if there was an emergency. Although she has never contacted each other once, they have added communication numbers to each other. And she doesn't want to reveal her identity now, so there is no need to send another communication. After the two of them finished talking, 15 minutes were almost up. Bai Jianchun walked to the bed and prepared to remove the needle. Du Li looked at her dry throat and said tremblingly, "Would you like to wait a little longer?" Bai Jianchun opened her eyelids and looked at his troubled face, and sneered, "Don't worry, you won't die, otherwise who will get my 50 million star coins?" Hearing this, Du Li immediately put his heart back in his stomach. Then he spread his hands, closed his eyes and said solemnly, "Pull it out." Bai Jianchun glanced at him, pursed her lips, lowered her eyes, and slowly pulled out the silver needles one by one. The blood on Du Li's chest had dried up, and the wounds had scabs. The dark blood stuck to his skin. He sat up and rubbed it, and the blood scabs fell off piece by piece, and they were about to fall off. When he reached the silky and expensive quilt, Du Li quickly reached out to fish it out, but he wasn't fast enough and everything that should have fallen had already fallen. Du Li looked at the quilt that was stained by him, with a sad expression on his face. What a waste of a good thing. Probably because his expression was too vivid, Yao Wengxian could tell immediately what he was thinking. The corners of his mouth twitched, and he probably knew why this man and the lady next to him who didn't want to be named became friends. In the end, Yao Wengxian couldn't stand it anymore, so he took the initiative to comfort him and said, "Don't worry about this quilt. I'll have someone change it later." Then he added 3 words by accident, "free." Sure enough, Du Li's tangled and pitiful expression immediately relaxed. Yao Wengxian. He pushed up his glasses, regained his composure, and returned to his calm posture to invite the two of them. "There is also free tea and snacks in the living room outside. Do you want to try it together?" Du Li and Bai Qianchun's eyes lit up and they said in unison, "Yes." 3 minutes later, the 3 of them moved to the living room, and Du Li changed into clothes kindly donated by Yao Wengxian. The hot air is curling, the water vapor is steaming, and Bai Qianchun's face hidden behind the tea looks like a dream. She put her fair and slender fingers on the delicate and luxurious teacup with orchid patterns, lowered her head and took a sip with satisfaction, then raised her eyelids and glanced at Du Li, who was leaning on the sofa comfortably with a look of disaster on her face, and asked, "Are you offended? Who is it? Did you see clearly who killed you just now?" You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I became the richest man in the world by making meatballs. Author, Lanshan Luzi. Chapter 13. Du Li's cheerful face suddenly changed color, and he struggled for a while with a tangled look in his eyes before shaking his head and saying, "I don't know, I didn't have time to see clearly what that person looked like. I originally wanted to go up to the 4th floor, but I forgot something and planned to go back to get it. Unexpectedly, when I turned around and walked down the steps, a man rushed up to me and held down my shoulders, and then stabbed me directly with a knife. In the pit of my stomach, my vision went dark and I fell to the ground." He recalled the previous scene with lingering fear in his eyes, and his body couldn't help shaking. After regaining consciousness and calming down, he looked at Bai Jianchun and continued, "I only know that the man was wearing black clothes and a black hat and mask on his face. He should be taller and stronger than me. I couldn't move at all when he was holding me down, and the man was very sharp. He even stirred the knife after inserting it, for fear that I wouldn't die." Speaking of this, Du Li's face turned dark uncontrollably, and his spine also felt chilly. If he hadn't managed to hold on to his last breath and met Bai Jianchun who had magical means, his body would have been completely cold by now. Bai Jianchun frowned as she heard this. "It seems like that person is really after you. Are you sure you didn't offend anyone?" This Du Li scratched his head, his expression a little depressed. "I guess so." Bai Jianchun raised her eyebrows. "What does it mean to have it? If you have it, you have it, and if you don't have it, you don't have it." Du Li's smile was forced and bitter. "I offended Bai Qinjun of the Bai family before at the 8th Military Academy. It was he who got me kicked out of the military academy. I think this matter has passed, but I don't know if it has passed with him. So I'm not sure if he asks someone to do it. As for other people, I probably haven't offended him. Bai Qianchun narrowed his eyes and frowned. Bai Qianjun of the Bai family. In the dream, Bai Zhuangquan, who occupied the Bai family, seemed to have a son named Bai Qianjun who was not stingy. According to his character, it is entirely possible that he would pay to kill someone because of his grudge. However, Yao Wengxian also put forward another idea. The Shenjia starship has recently reformed its operation and advertised absolute safety and comfort. If Brother Du really died on the starship today, this reform of the Shenjia starship will have a great impact. Influence, so that person is not necessarily here for Brother Du. It is also possible that he randomly wants to find an unlucky person to create trouble and attack the Sheng family starship. Unlucky Du Le. He didn't know whether to pray. Was it better to offend someone and cause death, or to be an unlucky guy? He doesn't really want the two fatal factors. Finally, they drank the tea and finished the snacks, but the Sheng family guards still did not transmit the results of the investigation. Bai Qianchun became a little impatient and left, preparing to leave. Du Le hurriedly smiled at Yao Wengxian, politely said goodbye, and then followed him in small steps while covering his chest. Bai Qianchun raised her eyebrows slightly as she heard the footsteps coming up behind her, and asked in a low voice, "Which planet are you going to?" Du Le hummed and took small steps behind her, like a little daughter-in-law. At this moment, she subconsciously answered, "Huana Sing." "How many days will it arrive?" 5 days. After answering, Du Le suddenly raised his head, made a fist with his right hand and knocked on the palm of his left hand. "Yes, I have to follow you for 30 days of acupuncture." This was a big deal related to his life, so he couldn't be careless, so he hurriedly asked, "What about you, old girl? Which planet are you going to?" "I'll go with you." Bai Qianchun smiled and replied, "Mu Yun Sing." Du Li's face fell, and he muttered depressedly, "So I still have to make up the vote. It takes 10 days to get to Jupiter." Bai Qianchun, who had heard him talk about it on the road, already knew the status of his wallet very well, so the corner of her mouth curled up. "Do you need me to lend it to you? Just 1% interest per day." Du Le, who was already heavily in debt, became even more depressed, and then decisively shook his head and refused. "No, I will definitely earn the money to pay for the ticket in these 4 days." Bai Qianchun tilted her head and glanced at him in surprise. "Earn money on a starship?" Du Le gave her a "you don't understand this" look, and then enthusiastically invited her to come to the room to see his money-making plan. When Bai Qianchun heard this, a bright light flashed in his eyes, and he slowed down his steps calmly, waiting for Du Le to catch up, and then followed him. Du Li's room was also on the second floor, just 2 doors away from Bai Qianchun. The layout and size of the room were modeled after Bai Qianchun's. As soon as Du Le entered, he went straight to the big black bag placed next to the bed. He picked up the big black bag and put it on the table, unzipping it with a quick movement. Bai Qianchun subconsciously stretched out her neck to take a look, and saw that several pieces of clothes in her bag were crumpled and squeezed into the corner. Taking up the front position were 2 large flower pots. In addition to these, there was a large bag of seeds and several bags of seeds. Soil. Du Le moved out 2 large flower pots, untied the bags and poured the soil into them, and said proudly to Bai Qianchun, "This soil is the most fertile soil produced on the Tuyuan planet, and it is the most suitable for growing vegetables, was given to me by my friend Yun from the military academy, and it is said that it can increase the growth rate by 10%. The Jupiter star has not yet been opened, and most of the vegetables on the interstellar planet are grown on the fertile soil produced by the Earth star." Bai Qianchun nodded, raised his eyebrows and lowered his voice. He listened very carefully, feeling that he had gained more knowledge. Seeing her interested expression, Du Le became even more excited, and then Barabala continued speaking with an excited look on her face. I observed it the last time I came to the main star and took a starship. The people in the first-class cabin of the starship are all rich people. They are naughty and they just want a mouthful of fresh vegetables and fruits. But let alone on the starship. Even in the outside world, these fruits and vegetables are priced but not available. Last time I heard a customer from a superior warehouse offered a high price of 30 stars for a small green vegetable, but no one sold it to him. Baikin Chun's eyes shone with the gleam of gold and money, so the price of fruits and vegetables on the starship is 10 times that of the outside world. Du Le scratched his head and thought for a moment, probably so. Anyway, the price is higher than on the main star, not even 10 times but 5 or 6 times. What about the fruit? Du Le buried the seeds in the pot and replied excitedly, fruit is more expensive. A cherry can be sold for 100 star coins. Bai Qian-chun covered her chest, feeling so heartbroken that she couldn't breathe. Du Le was startled by her action. What's wrong with you? You don't have a broken heart like me, do you? Bai Qian-chun had a sullen face and nodded in pain. Yes, there is a big hole in my heart, and I feel the cold wind pouring into it. She regretted not picking a single fruit and leaving all the fruits on the balcony to Feng Tanggui. One of her cherries sold at a high price in the aristocratic circle only fetched 20 star coins, but on the starship it sold for a high price of 100 star coins. It was a real loss if she didn't make any profit this time. If she had known she had picked the fruits first, she would have sent them to Feng Tanggui after arriving at Muyuan planet. Feng Tanggui, who had just carried her favorite potted fruit home happily, suddenly felt a chill in her back. She immediately turned her head to look at him warily, who was coveting the fruit given by her sister-in-law. Is it Grandpa, that greedy old man? Or the smiling Uncle Fox? Or maybe it was the big pig trotters of my cousin who found out about my sister-in-law and left the fruit for her alone. Fearing that her cousin would become jealous, Feng Tanggui picked up a potted strawberry and sprinted 100 meters. No, she had to pick it up before her cousin found out. I became the richest man in the world by making meatballs. Author, Lanshan Luzi. Chapter 14. Du Le, who was a little confused by her exaggerated description, subconsciously became nervous. What should I do? How about you give yourself a few injections? Bai Qian-chun shook his head. That's not to the level of an acupuncture. As she said this, she turned to Du Le and stared at him seriously with her dark eyes. I only need one favor from you. Feeling that he was being targeted by a wolf, Du Le's Adam's apple rolled. He swallowed, his eyes were wandering, and his voice was a little weak. You say it? Bai Qian-chun happily stated his purpose. You can lend me a basin and 2 bags of soil. Du Le's eyes widened and he looked confused. Bai Qian-chun didn't look at his stupid look, and directly pulled out the other pot that hadn't been filled with soil yet. While deftly opening the bag and filling it with soil, she said casually, just tell me whether you agree to borrow it or not. Du Le choked and looked at the flower pot that was already filled with soil. He felt speechless for a while. You have already mastered this. How can he not borrow it? He waved his hand helplessly. Borrow, borrow, borrow. Anyway, the level of my wood power is low. Now half of it needs to be used for heart repair. I can only use half. 1 basin is enough for me to use it. Bai Qian-chun's black starry eyes were slightly bent, satisfied. After filling the soil, he reached out and took out the bag of seeds from his bag, opened it and pulled it a few times, and asked curiously, what are these? Seeds. Du Le was so excited that he introduced her excitedly. These are the vegetable seeds I collected that are easiest to grow and consume the least wood power. For example, these black seeds are vegetable seeds. Here is a small. The bag contains garlic sprouts and cabbage seeds, and the red cloth bag contains cucumber seeds. By the way, there's also this sweet potato. I heard that the nobles like to eat shredded sweet potatoes. It tastes very good. Add some sugar and it's a complete dish. Bai Qianchun nodded seriously, good guy, this is quite a lot. She pointed to the white cloth bag in the corner again, what about this one? Du Le craned his neck to glance at her and said excitedly, those are celery, onions, garlic, and ginger. They are all ingredients. I thought that other dishes can be omitted, but the ingredients cannot be omitted. If you want to make a piece of meat or a piece of roasted fish, these are the necessities. Bai Qianchun's eyes immediately changed when she looked at him. The young man had considered things comprehensively and was a man who was prepared to make money. But she didn't plan to use these seeds. Otherwise, they were too cheap. It was more profitable to grow her fruits. You plant here first, and I'll go back to the room to get the seeds. Oh, Du Le responded in a daze. After watching Bai Qianchun's figure leave the door, he patted his head and remembered, I am also a wood-type superpower. Hey, what a coincidence. In order not to delay making money, Bai Qianchun quickly returned to her room, took the bag of seeds in her suitcase and rushed out. Ding! A communication message came in. Bai Qianchun frowned and opened it to check. When she saw the note finance owner boss, Bai Qianchun immediately remembered that she still had a husband. She originally planned to have a showdown after boarding the starship, but it turned out that the universe was too charming and the small money was too cute. People have forgotten. Thinking of the 100,000 star coins per month, Bai Qianchun's eyes drifted for a moment, and then quickly returned to a calm and cold look. The agreement didn't say that she couldn't leave the main star, so she didn't break the contract. After thinking about it, Bai Qianchun clicked on the message. Financial boss, Wai Wei said you were angry. Bai Qianchun paused. Is she angry? She did seem a little angry, but it was definitely not because of the reason Wai Wei said. So she thought for a moment and replied with 2 words, no. Ye Yang Prime. In the office of the commander of the Third Army. The dazzling sunlight shines in from the window. The spacious and messy office is filled with documents. There are 3 corpses lying there. Each of them has black eyes, weak, and their eyes are closed tightly. They are lying there paralyzed as if the power has been cut off. The soul meets Duke Zhou. Only Feng Yuyu in front of the desk was still sitting there firmly. However, his condition was not very good. Although he did not look as if he had been drained like the other 3, he could not hide the green and black color at the moment. After leaving the Sheng family villa last night, he flew straight to the Third Army to process documents. Although he brought 3 helpers with him, he was still very busy and did not stop from last night until this afternoon. He didn't even have time to read Feng Tangui's communication bombardment in the morning. It was only now that he had finished processing the documents that he had time to check the messages she sent. At this time, his hair was messy, and he looked at the list of big pig hooves. Cheated idiot, sister-in-law was so angry, beware of the crematorium for chasing wives sent by his cousin with a tired frown. Such arrogant and angry remarks. Looking at the word no, Bai Qianchun said back to him, he reached out and tugged on his collar, narrowed his bloodshot peach blossom eyes, and laughed angrily. That guy Feng Tangui has read some bloody novels recently, and even chased his wife in the crematorium, ha! However, he did not expect that his little poor wife would leave the main star. Feng Yuyu recalled in his mind the wife he had not met for a few times. All he could remember was her empty clothes and her thin figure like a paper figure that floated away in the wind. As for the rest, there are probably only 3 impressions: pitiful, disfigured and weak. He didn't see that she had the courage to leave the main star alone. Although the war with the Orc Empire has subsided, the Huayao Empire has not yet been sorted out. For example, a rich man from a certain planet bullies others and robs women, and a vicious interstellar pirate appears in a certain star field. How many people were killed by robbing the starship? It can be said that there are still many dangers, and her life will be killed if she is not careful. Fenyu leaned back in his chair, and put his straight long legs wrapped in jet black military uniform on the desk casually, pressing them on several messy folders, looking at the light on his hands with a half smile in his peach blossom eyes. Brain, is she too brave or too big-hearted? His slender long hand with clear joints tapped in the void and sent another message. I heard that you have traveled far away. Where do you plan to go? I am a little busy with things on the main star and cannot spare time to accompany you. How about I send someone to protect you? Bai Qianchun glanced down and couldn't help but rub her arms. What's going on with this bitch? The sudden tenderness makes people's skin crawl. She kept a straight face and replied, have your account been hacked or possessed by someone, or is there someone around you? Give me a code and I'll help you figure it out. The smile on Fenyu's face froze, but she still forced a smile, gritted her teeth, and continued to reply word by word, no, I just want to care about you. Now, Fenyu, chasing his wife at the crematorium, haha, what a joke. Later, Fenyu rubbed his hands with a flattering look on his face, wife, where are you going to play? It's too dangerous outside. I'll go with you and have a honeymoon by the way. Bai Qianchun looked wary, he was so gentle all of a sudden, and said, what's the conspiracy? Fenyu cried, I was wrong, the crematorium is too difficult. Author's message, sometimes I will occasionally write some short dramas beside the topic, either directly when updating or adding them when I check the next day. If you don't like it, you can skip it. I became the richest man in the world by making meatballs. Author, Lanshan Luzi. Chapter 15. Bai Qianchun still felt weird and didn't really want such concern. But after thinking about it, she still didn't dare to open her venomous tongue and directly greet his brain. After all, she always kept in mind that he was a financial sponsor who gave him 100,000 yuan a month, which was different from ordinary people. She could be angry, but not too much. So she decisively sent a reply that she thought was not excessive, no need to, I have the ability to protect myself and will not let anyone be widowed in your spouse column. However, I think your problem is more serious, and I suggest you go to the hospital to have your brain examined. The smile on Fenyu's face was twisted. Is this woman saying that he is mentally ill? Very good, my courage has indeed grown a lot. Old girl, what are you doing outside? Come on, I've already ripened a small green vegetable. He shouted excitedly at the top of his voice. Bai Qianchun, who was still in the aisle, suddenly came to her senses and responded quickly, oh, here we come. Then she hurriedly sent a message backhand, I have something urgent to do, so let's not talk about it for now. As for the return trip, it will be about a year later. You can make up whatever you want in my name during this year as before. Of course, if the editing goes too far, he will divorce her after she makes money and then deny having a marriage relationship with Fenyu. In this way, it will be none of her business what Fenyu's wife is arranged to do, witty JPG. On the opposite side, Fenyu, who had not had time to reply, saw this again, and his twisted smile became abnormal. Very good, now he can be sure that this emboldened wife has no intention of playing hard to get or causing trouble. The marriage agreement can continue to be performed and does not need to be terminated. However, the terms of the agreement are too loose. For example, the monthly living allowance of 100,000 yuan must be changed. Fenyu thought with a sinister smile. Zhuangshu. Here one of the three corpses immediately sat up, his eyes were confused for a moment, and then he quickly regained his consciousness and looked at Fenyu who was sitting there, and said in a straight voice, Sir, what are your orders? Fenyu put down her long legs, clasped her hands on the table, looked at him with a deep look and said, Go and help me check the versions of marriage agreements currently on the market, and give me a copy. Zhuangshu was stunned for a moment, and his face became tangled. He glanced at his elders and asked in a cautious voice, Is there something wrong between the sir and his wife? Fen Yuyu, who has always been a gentle and doting wife, and a loving couple to the outside world, was shocked and immediately realized the seriousness of the matter, so he smiled decisively and pretended to be sweet and said, "No, my wife and I are very good." Because she didn't go back last night, she acted coquettishly and asked me to go back early today to accompany her. She wanted to make up for my birthday. The marriage agreement was asked by that guy Yao Wengxian. He has been too busy recently and has no time to do this. Oh, Zhuangshu breathed a sigh of relief and nodded to express his understanding. The Feng group is now the money bag of their third army, and Yao Wengxian is the general manager in charge of the money bag, so he should be busy. Fen Yuyu secretly wiped the sweat in his heart and continued with a noble and considerate smile, "You all have worked hard. Go back and rest early. I have to go back to accompany my wife." The other two Xianyu, who woke up when they heard "go back and rest," immediately showed envy on their faces after hearing this, and then, together with Zhuangshu, the three single dogs walked shoulder to shoulder, with the sour smell of lemons exuding from their backs, and quickly left the office. Fen Yuyu exhaled, lowered his head and quickly sent a message to Yao Wengxian, "Help me check Baikin Chun's information. As expected, it's better to leave matters with that woman to friends who know the inside story." Yao Wengxian was investigating the mysterious girl who didn't want to reveal her name and could save people with needles. What he didn't expect was that he looked for clues from the Sheng family's ticket purchase records, but found nothing. Her identity and name it seems to have been encrypted, and it is still the highest level of encryption instructions. Now it is displayed anonymously. In the end, the only news he got was that her purpose this time was Muyuan Star. Yao Wengxian sighed helplessly. Sure enough, he could not find the strange person. The person behind her must have encrypted her identity information. Although he was a little regretful about this, he did not dare to investigate further. Now that the border crisis has been lifted, all major forces have moved to fight on the main star. The forces are in chaos. Even the Feng family, who has Fen Yuyu on his back, cannot intervene at will. Can you press this matter first? It happened that he received the news from Fen Yuyu, and after reading it, a meaningful smile appeared on his face. "A year ago, didn't you say that I was pitiful and had amnesia, so I didn't need to worry about myself, and I didn't need to check it out?" Fen Yuyu, who had not been trained by the army a year ago, was indeed a bit young, and his ideas were too simple and casual. At this moment, he also felt sorry for his bold approach of keeping an unknown person by his side and getting a marriage certificate. Sweat. Fen Yuyu gritted his teeth, squinted his eyes and smiled angrily. "I think the business on Desert Star is good. After you ran away from Star Huana, the business on Desert Star was also handed over to you." Yao Wengxian clicked his tongue. It was old man Feng who was wise and threw people into the army. The young master who used to be venomous, coquettish and willfully perverse has now become a black sesame stuffing. He calmly threatened him and ate it. "No, let me check. I checked it at that time. I was just waiting for your words." Bai Qianchun is the only heir left by the Duke Bai family. She was trapped in the Duke's mansion by Bai Zhuangquan since she was a child and was not allowed to go out to see people. She claimed to be frail and sick. In fact, it was probably Bai Zhuangquan who wanted to seize power. Look at Miss Bai's body at that time. From the situation, we know that her life must have been bad since she was a child, and she may not even be able to guarantee basic food and clothing. We don't know how Miss Bai escaped from Bai Zhuangquan's eyes a year ago and was picked up by us after being seriously injured and losing her memory. Anyway, she was a poor person and her identity was not a problem. After reading it, Fen Yuyu pursed her lips, her deep eyes flashed slightly, and fell silent. He rubbed his temples and sighed tiredly on his handsome face. Forget it, there's no need to change the marriage agreement. Anyway, he has a lot of money, so that's not bad. Therefore, the two people who were so close to the truth for the first time missed the truth because they did not re-investigate. On the other side, Bai Qianchun, who almost missed out on 100,000 star coins, didn't know anything yet. She held a large bag of seeds in her hand and strode into Du Li's room. Du Li was sitting in the corner inconspicuously, holding a flower pot in his hands, holding the pot in his arms like he was hatching a chicken. When he saw her come in, he smiled and giggled at her twice, then lowered his head and closed his eyes. He opened his eyes, put his forehead against the center of the basin with a pious face, and continued to work hard. Light green fluorescence spread out from the center of his eyebrows to form a thin line, which was intermittently input into a black seed in the soil. Later. Zhuangshu, sir, are you having trouble with your wife again? Fen Yuya firmly denied it. It's nonsense. My wife and I are the best in the world. After kneeling on the durian last night, she let me go back to the room to sleep. Zhuangshu looked suspicious. This was different from the wife who used to act coquettishly. It felt like she had changed into a new wife. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I became the richest man in the world by making meatballs. Author, Lanshan Luzi. Chapter 16. A second passed as the seed struggled to break out of its shell. 2 seconds passed, and the seeds were still trying to break out of the shell. 3 seconds have passed, and the seeds are still trying to break out of the shell. Bai Qian-chun. After being a hot chick with light-type powers, she now feels that a wood-type psychic is also a hot chick. This is as fast as hatching eggs, and you still want to make a lot of money by growing vegetables? Haha, it's difficult. Bai Qian-chun reflected in her mind whether she had thought too well of the interstellar superpowers before, so that the one or two she encountered were not satisfactory. But this idea was quickly suppressed by her. There are definitely strong people, but all she has encountered are weaklings. She must not be scornful just because of these too few templates. Bai Qian-chun looked solemn, walked over and put the bag in his hand on the table, and picked out a seed of a small improved apple tree from it. The balcony of her house is not large, but if it were a normal apple tree, it would be very tall. One tree would probably occupy most of the balcony, and would reach the balcony of the house above. So in order to avoid the tragedy of losing money, she obtained the seeds of the small apple tree studied in the laboratory with the help of Feng Tanggui. It will probably only be about 2 meters tall when it grows up, so it will be much more convenient to plant on the balcony. Now this small apple tree is also suitable for planting in the small room of the starship. With this in mind, Bai Qian-chun buried the seeds in the soil and moved the flower pot to the ground. Her dark eyes became distant and cold, and with a light soft color, she leaned over and touched the edge of the flower pot. A green ball of light that gradually grew in size came out from her fingertips, like a child playing up and down, jumping and jumping happily towards the embrace of the flower pot. The moment the ball of light touched the flower pot, it shattered into countless small light spots, lingering above the flower pot, intertwining into a circle of vibrant dark green light covering the top. The seeds in the soil seemed to be awakened. They broke out of their shells and sprouted 2 small green and lovely leaves. Before Xiao Ye had time to say hello, she couldn't wait to grow taller in the next moment. Thousands of branches are growing, and countless green leaves emerge from the branches. They are full of vitality and green, blooming into an infinite spring scene. In the blink of an eye, the saplings grew into a 2-meter tall tree, and the passionate little white flowers crowded together and clustered on the branches, making the green apple tree particularly beautiful. Immediately after the little flowers have reached their most beautiful stage, they begin to wither, using their hard work to give birth to small fruits one after another. It only takes a minute for the fruit to go from green to fist size to the lovely red ripe form. The secret of growth and transformation seems to be easy in her hands. In contrast, Du Li didn't look at it. He groaned and suppressed his blush. At this moment, the seeds had just broken out of their shells, and 2 wilted seedlings grew out. They seemed to be a little malnourished. It looks like he was raised by his stepfather. Fortunately, Du kept his eyes closed the whole time, otherwise he would have crawled into the ground with shame. The corners of Baikin Chun's mouth curled up slightly as she plucked the red and particularly beautiful big apples hanging from the fruit trees with satisfaction. But where to put it? She held her arms full of apples and looked around, but couldn't find anything that could hold them. She frowned. What a mistake. In the end, she had no choice but to take aim at Du Li's bed. 15 minutes later, Du Li opened his eyes and wiped his sweat, with a bright smile on his fair face. Finally, it was planted. The previous green vegetable consumed a lot of wood-type powers, and the second one was too slow. Old sister, how are you doing over there? Damn it! He was caught off guard and saw the big apples all over the bed. His smile was so shocked that his eyes nearly popped out of his sockets. These are apples. He swallowed and pointed with trembling fingers at the hill-like pile of red fruits on his bed. He was shocked beyond words. Bai Qianchun, who was harvesting the 8th batch, heard the sound, glanced at him casually, and said lightly, "If your eyes are not broken, you should be able to judge for yourself." Du Liman's face was red and he was in a trance. That's right, it's apple. His eyes were glued to the pile of apples, and he looked at the apple tree in the flower pot full of fruits. He still asked with some reluctance, "Did you bring it here from the space button?" Bai Qianchun paused and turned to look at him speechlessly. "Do you think I am someone with a space button?" Du Li. Yes, they were brothers and sisters who cherished each other before they boarded the starship. How could they have the money to buy a space button? Du Li forced out a twisted smile with an aggrieved face, and had to admit that while he was working hard and holding back his energy to grow a small green vegetable, he had grown a bed full of apples like a hill. Why are there such big differences between people? Bai Qianchun seemed to think that the blow was not big enough, so she spoke again. "One flower pot is not enough for me. I also want to plant another cherry tree." "You are so slow, why don't you lend me your flower pot too?" Du Li decisively hugged the flower pot and said warily, "No, I want to plant it myself." "Bai Qianchun, I'll pay the rent." Du Li said firmly, "No, I must grow vegetables." Is this an issue of rent? This is an issue of men's dignity. The two faced off for a while, but Du Li finally surrendered. Okay, there are stores on the starship, you can buy them, the price is only twice as high as outside, then you can grow whatever you want. You can plant as much as you want." Bai Qianchun frowned. Du Li was keenly aware of her concerns, so he hurriedly helped analyze. A flower pot is only 30 star coins, but if you buy an extra flower pot, you can grow a lot of apples, and you can make 1,000 times more money. Star coins, is this world worth it? And you just made 150 million. Now you are a rich woman. Do you still care about buying a flower pot that is twice as much? He muttered sourly. Bai Qianchun glanced at him with a very sure expression. "I care." Du Li choked, then suddenly realized. "That's right. You said that the vitality pill is difficult to make. There must be a lot of initial investment and scrapping. Recently, interstellar medicinal materials are in short supply and are expensive. Although 150 million is a lot, it is not much at all for research. Several laboratories in our school are researching a project, and the initial investment alone will cost 2 to 3 billion. Bai Qianchun actually succeeded the first time and never wasted any medicinal materials. She pursed her lips and said nothing, nor did she correct his misunderstanding. With Du Li leading the way, the two of them arrived on the second floor of the starship one after another. There was a large shopping mall here, occupying nearly half of the space on the second floor, and the area was extremely large. There are many types of goods inside, and there are even some rare things that are not available on the main planet, but the prices are twice as high as those on the planet. However, this is an independent seller's market, and the high prices are understandable. Do Ellie, is this something that can be avoided by keeping your eyes closed the whole time? No, he wants to hide under the ground now. It's so shocking. I became the richest man in the world by making meatballs. Author, Lanshan Luzi. Chapter 17. Bai Qian-chun wandered around the mall and bought 3 flower pots and 6 bags of soil. Then she went to a place that sold bamboo baskets, planning to buy some bamboo baskets that could hold vegetables and apples. She glanced at the almost identical bamboo baskets on the left and right sides of the shopping shelf, frowned and asked in confusion, why are the bamboo baskets from Yeoguang Star priced 3 stars higher than those from Tianyu Star, while those from Yeoguang Star? What about better sales? Judging from her precise and sharp eyes, Tianyuxing's bamboo baskets are even more carefully made than those of Yeoguangxing. The burrs on the bamboo slices are all smoothed out. This is even worse than the rough bamboo baskets of Yeoguangxing. The basket is very strange. Du Le came over to take a look and said clearly, it's probably the celebrity effect. Bai Qian-chun looked confused and glanced over to ask. Du Le gave a dry laugh and helped her popularize science in an interesting way. You should have seen the news released on the Star Network today about rewards for meritorious service during the border war a year ago. Li Heo of the Li family, the owner of the planet Yeoguang, is also one of the highest meritorious persons. First, he commanded the 19th Army at a young age and accumulated a dazzling feat in that border battle that cannot be ignored. After these achievements of his were announced, he is now very popular on the Star Network. He is also called the second Marshal Huo, and he has become the 4th on the list of the top male gods in the empire. Who is not a top aristocratic bachelor who is young, handsome, and rich? Love, so the prices of the things on the shaking light star behind him naturally increased, and the prices for those being robbed also increased. This kind of thing is very common. For example, Marshal Huo before, and Major General Sheng who was particularly popular in the past 2 years. Their related peripherals are also very popular, and the prices have skyrocketed. Bai Qian-chun squinted her eyes, thoughtfully, and regretted not disclosing her name. Otherwise, would the price of the fruits she sold also be increased accordingly? A stranger who was listening with interest also came over and chimed in, this brother is absolutely right, and the Li family also has concubine Li, who is the new favorite of our emperor in recent years, and has given birth to the youngest and most beloved daughter. The doting 6th prince, even though the Li family is just an earl now, as long as Major General Li and the 6th prince are here, the Li family will definitely follow the chickens and dogs to the sky in the future, and the Li family's shaking star will definitely rise with the tide. I also heard that Yeoguang Star is planning to upgrade from a medium star to a high star recently. The application has been submitted. If the application is successful, the products produced by Yeoguang Star will be labeled as a high star in the future, and the price will be higher. I'll definitely have to keep turning up. Bai Qian-chun and Du Le both turned to look over, with questioning eyes, who is this person? The man was not embarrassed to be stared at. He smiled with big white teeth on his wheat-colored face, and greeted them in a very familiar manner, hey, hello, my name is Gao Yang. I heard you talking just now, and I couldn't hold it back for a moment. Bai Qian-chun's eyes were cold and she nodded slightly in response, but had no intention of speaking. Du Le didn't say anything, because after nearly losing his life just now, he looked at everyone as if they had bad intentions, so when facing such a familiar Gao Yang, he immediately showed a dog-like vigilance, with a look on his face, this is this guy trying to get close to me and harm me. Gao Yang was so shameless that even one person was heartbroken. What's going on? Why doesn't his honest face work this time? He swallowed, rubbed his hands, and said with a flattering smile, what, I don't mean anything else. In fact, I am a second-rate dealer. I just want to ask if the things you grow can be sold. I have connections in my hands. I can help you match up, Sell it at the highest price, and I'll take 1% of it. Who knew that Du Li would become even more vigilant after he said this? How did you know we were planting something? Gao Yang pointed to the things they were holding and said with a proud smile, just look at the flower pots and soil you bought. Muyuan has not yet opened. There is a shortage of fruits and vegetables on the interstellar planet. It is even more scarce on the starship. There are many wooden sources. People with special powers are planning to sell high-priced fruits and vegetables on starships, so this starship store has a complete range of flower pots, soil, and bamboo baskets. I come here every day, and whenever I see someone buying these three in this way, he is 100% a wood-type superpower. Bai Qianchun narrowed her eyes and looked at him calmly. Why should we sell it to you? Gao Yang glanced around them and said firmly, the last time you took a starship was a year ago. Bai Qianchun turned her head and looked at Du Li, who was surprised. How do you know? Starship tickets are expensive. The last time he bought them was because he was admitted to the military academy and wanted to come to the main star, so he had to grit his teeth and pay for them. Where would he normally go to take a starship? Gao Yang chuckled twice, because it's not easy to sell things on the starship this year. Stalls are not allowed in public places. Anyone found is severely fined, and those rich people are not stupid. It's better to buy fruits and vegetables on a starship at 10 times the price than to buy them on the planet and bring them back. They have money and refrigerated space buttons, so they have the conditions to bring their own things. Bai Qianchun, Du Li, it makes sense. If it were them, they wouldn't be taken advantage of. MMMP is so happy for nothing. Du Li asked anxiously, how many times can it be sold for now? Gao Yang narrowed his eyes, and the old god said, if you let me do it, I can sell it for more than double the price, but if you sell it yourself, it depends on your luck. Some people sell it at a par price, and some people sell it at a higher price. The price is 10% to 20%, and some people are 20% to 30% higher, but so far no one has been able to exceed the price I negotiated. Du Li had a look on his face. His dream of getting rich would take off. As expected, things were not as beautiful as he thought. Bai Qianchun also didn't look good. She was so happy just now, but now she's so disappointed. It's not as high as the price Feng Tanggui got from Shen Sixiang. Seeing that the two of them had been silent for a long time, Gao Yang couldn't help but ask, how is it? Have you considered it? If you are not willing to give me a 100% commission, I have another plan here. Bai Qianchun calmed down her emotions, raised her eyes and looked at him coldly. Tell me about it. Gao Yang laughed and said, I rented a room specifically to set up a stall selling fruits and vegetables. The stall fee is 200 star coins per hour. Du Li's eyes widened and he blurted out, it's so expensive, why don't you go and grab it? He may not be able to make back the money he spent working so hard all morning. Gao Yang was not annoyed and smiled shrewdly, brother, what you said is not right. I am not a person who charges excessive fees. I spent a lot of manpower and material resources to promote this fruit and vegetable store in the early stage. It has a good reputation. Anyone who has been on a starship in 2017 knows this place, and those who are rich and like fresh food will come straight to us, which is much more efficient than your door-to-door sales. Besides, there was a terrible murder in the first-class warehouse not long ago. An unlucky boy was stabbed so hard that he died. Now there is a turmoil in the first-class warehouse of the starship. Even if you can be shameless, they don't even dare to open the door for door-to-door sales. The unlucky person, Du Li, he is also to blame for the fact that co-authoring is not good for business. It's so frustrating. Bai Qianchun stared at Gao Yang deeply. This guy has a really good business sense. He took out his small notebook and wrote it down first. Gao Yang, no talent at all, I'm just a second-rate dealer who likes to inquire about gossip. Author, it's another day off. I'll save all the ones I like. If you have any recommendation votes, please vote for them, okay? I became the richest man in the world by making meatballs. Author, Lanshan Luzi. Chapter 18. In the end, Bai Qianchun gritted her teeth and decided to rent a stall. Du Li's 2 small green vegetables were used as scraps, and they were put on her stall after they were used up. The two of them did what they said. After buying things, they immediately went back to the room to move the apples. On the way back, the two of them joined Gao Yang. He was probably afraid that the duck would fly away, so he enthusiastically expressed his willingness to work as a free labor force and move things with them back home. Seeing that he was only a little thoughtful but not malicious, Bai Qianchun didn't object. There was nothing wrong with having multiple free tool men. It is worth mentioning that Du Li discovered that Bai Qianchun did not buy either the bamboo basket of Yao Guangxing or the bamboo basket of Tianyuxing, but bought a few seeds of vines added, which were worth 3-star coins and were sold in a row. One of the cheapest seeds. Are you planning to make a basket yourself? Seeing Bai Qianchun holding a basin and promoting the seeds of the garret vine as she walked, Gao Yang, who was well informed, could tell at a glance what she wanted to do. The vine is a palm-climbing plant with a hard texture and the same thickness from head to tail. It is the most suitable raw material for making rattan products in the interstellar world. Many exquisite handicrafts are woven with the vine. Of course, it is also suitable for basket weaving. But generally those with wood-type abilities would not choose to use this method. Without it, it would be a thankless task and a waste of wood-type abilities. It would be more in line with maximizing profits to spawn more expensive vegetables and fruits, not to mention that most people don't have the skills to weave baskets. So the way Gao Yang looked at Bai Qianchun was quite strange. Bai Qianchun saw through his mind at a glance and said calmly, "I'm different from others. I have many powers. It's just a matter of weaving a few baskets. It's not difficult." Gao Yang choked and looked at Bai Qianchun in an even weirder way. Although she is wearing a mask and can't see her face clearly, she looks like a young girl. How high can this wood power be? How many wood-type abilities can be stored? Gao Yang murmured in his heart, but his professional habits kept him polite and smiling, and he did not ask questions, which would offend his customers. Du Li remained silent and did not interrupt, and looked at Gao Yang with a proud look that made everyone drunk, but I was alone. After the miraculous treatment and the big apples on the bed in the room, he didn't doubt Bai Qianchun's words at all. Of course, Bai Qianchun had no intention of explaining. Seeing that the vine was almost dragging to the ground, she turned around and handed the flower pot in her hand to Gao Yang to hold, and she pulled the vine that had spawned and rolled it up in circles. And then bowed with both hands left and right, weaving baskets while walking with extremely skillful skills. After Gao Yang was stunned for a moment, he complained in his heart, "You're so rude, you really treat him as a tool carrier." But he soon lost his mind to complain, because he saw the 2 vines in the flower pot in his arms growing at an incredible speed. Even though the garrote vine is known for its fast growth, he was still shocked by how fast he could reach 3 or 4 meters in length in the blink of an eye. Ah, this does seem to be something. It only took 10 minutes to return to the room on the 2nd floor from the store, and Bai Qianchun had already knitted 6 large baskets in her hands. Gao Yang went from questioning to shocked to numb. He was shocked again when he saw the small mountain of big apples on the bed in the room. "Here, are these just planted by the 2 of you?" he swallowed, rubbed his hands, and asked with bright eyes. Du Li shook his head, "No." Gao Yang breathed a sigh of relief, "He just said so. That's what my old sister planted alone." Gao Yang was still choked with relief. He turned his head and looked at Du Li with deep eyes, and asked unwillingly, "Did you grow it before boarding the starship and bring it out for sale?" "No, it was planted after we boarded the starship." Du Li's voice was filled with admiration and envy. "I only had to hold back 2 small green vegetables, and she planted a bunch of them. When I saw it, I was just as scared as you and couldn't believe it." With Gao Yang here, Du Li, the chatty little talker, has found someone to share his love with. If he catches him, he will yell at him, but Gao Yang will feel bad. From Du Li's words, he can see the iceberg. A corner. If what Du Li said was true, wouldn't it mean that this young, fledgling girl he thought was really capable? To grow such a hill-like bed of big, red apples within 10 minutes is a sign that a high-level wood-type superpower user above level A has not escaped. Even the most capable wood-type superpower he had known this year was not capable of her. Gao Yang was both happy and painful, thinking of himself as a numb tool, and together with Du Li, he helped carefully put the apples on the bed into the basket. During this time, Bai Qianchun was not idle either. She made 3 more large baskets and finally filled all the apples on the bed. In the end, Gao Yang, the tool carrier, was of little use because there were too many apples to move at one time. Even if the 3 of them carry a basket on their backs and 2 more baskets in their hands, they can't carry all the things at once, because there is still an apple tree and several flower pots that are missing. Bai Qianchun thought about it and reluctantly spent 3 star coins to rent a moving robot to help them move. The wheels of the moving trailer were rolling on the floor, weaving in and out of the bustling crowd. 9 baskets of big, red apples that exude a sweet fragrance, together with a physical apple tree, quickly attracted the attention of people around them. A pair of eyes looked over curiously and covetously. Hey, look, look, those apples are so juicy, red, and beautiful, and they look delicious. The main star fruit is in short supply right now. It was sold out within minutes of being put on the shelves. I haven't eaten fresh fruit in months. If I come across it now, I will definitely buy it. It looks like it was just grown. I heard that there are many wood-type superpowers on the starship that are grown and sold now. They are fresh and juicy. They are sweeter and more delicious than the fruits grown in the main star's experimental fields. Little girl, do you want to sell these apples? In response to this, Bai Qianchun, who kept in mind that setting up a stall in a public place would be fined, only replied quietly, "Sell, but you can't sell here. If you sincerely want to buy, you can follow me." Then a group of people, their eyes shining and chattering, followed behind the huffing trailer. Good guy, there are quite a few people there if you count them. Why haven't we found so many potential customers before? Gao Yang, who was squeezed outside, now regrets it. So sorry. Why did he think that the 2 of them could not grow much at such young ages? If he had used his sharp tongue more to fool the 2 of them and reach a 1% commission plan, then he would be able to drink the broth now instead of watching helplessly. Gao Yang, he once had a huge piece of wealth in front of him, but he didn't cherish it. Now that he thinks about it, he regrets it. If he could live his life over again, he would definitely warn himself, never judge a book by its appearance. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I became the richest man in the world by making meatballs. Author, Lanshan Luzi. Chapter 19. The room rented by Gao Yang that specializes in selling fruits and vegetables, referred to as the small vegetable market, is located deep in a corner on the 2nd floor. Most people will not pass by here unless necessary. It can be said to be very remote. The room was quite spacious, but there were no furnishings inside. The only areas on the ground were marked with yellow circles, marked with numbers, indicating the stall numbers they were. When Bai Qianchun came with the trailer, most of the stalls here were already occupied, especially the best seats at the outermost ones, which had been occupied by smart people. Her appearance immediately attracted the attention of the stall owners. Each stall owner quickly stood up, raised his head, raised his chest, raised his smile, and prepared to use his 120,000 enthusiasm to attract customers. But when they saw the cart of big apples, their smiling faces immediately disappeared. "Oh, What's coming is not a guest but a competitor. Then all the faces turned into alert. Bai Qianchun didn't care about their attitude, and turned to look at Gao Yang, who was squeezing in with all his strength. I'll transfer you 200 star coins and rent it for an hour first. Gao Yang endured the heartache and hypnotized himself that no matter how small the mosquito legs were, they were still meat, and then raised a sincere smile. Okay, I will take you to visit, and you can choose which position you want. Bai Qianchun glanced at him. No, if I have the time, I might as well open the business as soon as possible. You can just give me a place. A group of people behind him who were anxious to buy apples also responded enthusiastically, yes, yes, hurry up and start selling. We can't wait. We are getting hungry after smelling the aroma of apples all the way. Damn it, some bastard squeezed me, and even if I didn't give up my seat, I was nailed to the side of the trailer. I must be the first one to buy an apple. Seeing this group of people who had been making a fuss all the way start to fight for each other again, Gao Yang's tears of envy flowed from the corners of his mouth. That's right, he has his own traffic, and people are buying it everywhere, so he wants a good position. Gao Yang murmured with sadness in his heart and arranged booth number 10, a place near the corner. Although the location is at the deepest point, the advantage is that the stall is larger than others. Bai Qianchun didn't have any objections. After taking the sign from Gao Yang, he led a cart of fruit over, and then asked Du Li to move the baskets in a hurry and prepare to sell them. A group of tailgaters behind also rolled up their sleeves to grab a seat. Soon there were 3 rows in front of the stall, and they lined up from the innermost to the gate. Business was bleak, and a room with 2 or 3 kittens was squeezed into a bustling vegetable market. Gao Yang saw that he had changed from his previous loneliness and was so happy that there were more people than at the beginning. It seemed that many more people followed him on the road. In this way, wouldn't his small vegetable market be able to follow Zhang Guangfang's wave of popularity? This is a great thing. Little girl, what's the price of your apple? The ant at the front of the queue on the left spoke first and asked with a smile. She has a kind face, but after witnessing how well this lady could lift 2 strong men with her bare hands and spray 3 women of the same age with her arms akimbo, no one dared to look down upon her. No, the 2 strong men at the front of the 2 rows in the middle and on the right didn't dare to speak before her. Bai Qianchun stood beside the basket, with a pair of cold and beautiful black eyes flashing, recalling what Gao Yang said before about the current situation of selling fruits and vegetables on the starship, and said at a fixed price, 150 star coins each. The size of my apple, it's well proportioned, so it's calculated accordingly. Okay, bring me 3 baskets first. The ant opened her mouth with joy and decided, so fast that Bai Qianchun couldn't help but wonder if her price was too low. However, this thought only lasted for a moment. There was no regret in making the decision. After setting the price, there was no chance to regret it. Bai Qianchun's beautiful eyes curved. Okay. Du Li, help me take inventory. I'm coming. Du Li, whose face was flushed with excitement, trotted over hurriedly. When we packed it just now, 1 basket contained 50 apples, and 3 baskets equaled 150 apples. Bai Qianchun raised an eyebrow at the ant in front of her, and her cold voice revealed a hint of the joy of making money. 150 sincere benefits for 22,500 star coins. If you are worried, you can count it again yourself. Don't worry, I believe you. The ant smiled cheerfully and quickly transferred the money to Bai Qianchun. Then, as if she was afraid that someone would snatch her away, she carried a basket on her back and carried a basket in each hand. He walked out quickly. As expected, she was someone who could lift a strong man with 1 hand. 3 baskets of apples were easily taken away by her, and they disappeared at the door in a blink of an eye. Bai Qianchun murmured even more in her heart, could it be that she really lost money? Boss, bring me 3 baskets too. I also want 3 baskets. After the ant left, The two strong men in the middle and the front row on the right immediately started shouting, unwilling to lag behind. The people queuing at the back suddenly started wailing, "Brothers in front of you, please do well. I haven't bought anything yet. You guys have 3 baskets each. What else can we buy behind us? Yes, just buy 3 for each person to try. Why do you need to buy 3 baskets? Brother, I am doing it for your own good, so I will save money by buying 3. The two strong men saw through their sinister thoughts and shouted proudly, "Is it money that I am short of? It's apples." This approach didn't work, so the people behind started to persuade each other emotionally, "Brother, don't worry, we are all brothers and sisters from all over the world, how about we discuss how to share it equally? Gun, I won the position based on my ability. Why should I share it equally with you? I'm not a fool." Everyone lost their skin and fought for apple enthusiastically. A lot of jokes were made during this back and forth, and the scene was very lively. The pear stall owner at number 9 next door was so jealous that his eyes turned red with envy. He muttered sourly, "They are all selling fruit, so why do apples attract so much attention?" Gao Yang, who was squatting beside him and watching the excitement, glanced at him with a sour look and told the truth, "Just because their apples are so good looking, and the pears you sell are small and green, I would be happy to do it for me, they buy it there." Stall owner number 9 choked and held his head in his arms, "Just because they are good looking doesn't mean they are delicious. Although my pears are small, they are authentic small fragrant pears. They taste very good. They are just put off by their appearance." Gao Yang glanced at him with a strange look, then patted his shoulder and sighed, "Little brother, we don't know who is who. It's okay to fool others with these words, but for me, you'd better forget it. As for whether the apples are delicious or not, you can tell just by smelling the sweet apple smell. No one is a fool. If these people don't know how to tell the difference, do you think that these few baskets of apples can attract so many people just by showing off in the market? Eager guests? Go ahead and dream, haven't you done this before? Have you ever seen anyone so successful?" Thinking back to stall owner number 9, who once flirted with a blind man and didn't catch anyone, it hurts my heart. Bai Jian Chun, why is their business so bad? There are only 2 or 3 kittens among the guests. Doesn't it mean that the interstellar people are most in need of fruits and vegetables? Gao Yang, again, no one is stupid. Fruits and vegetables are very expensive on the starship, so it's better to just bring them here. Stall owners, prices are high on starships, but we won't lower prices. If someone can take advantage of them, they'll do it one by one, but if they don't, we'll sell them as if they were on starships. I became the richest man in the world by making meatballs. Author, Lanshan Luzi. Chapter 20. Gao Yang and stall owner number 9 just squatted aside, looking at Baikin Chun's stall warily and sourly, praying that after she sold out, those customers who didn't buy apples would be able to get their hands on the rain and dew, and also look at the melons on other stalls. Fruits and vegetables. But what they never expected was that after selling 9 baskets of apples, it was not the end, but the beginning. They came to induce birth on the spot and continued to sell. Look at the small apple tree in the flower pot. It sprouted buds at lightning speed, grew green leaves, and then hung big red apples on the green branches and leaves. The process only took 3 minutes. Customers who are buying now will not even bother to look at other stalls. With such a powerful, highly skilled, and high-quality fruit supplier here, why would they bother to look at other crooked melons and cracked dates? Isn't it just that the waiting time is a little long? Don't worry, the most important thing they don't lack on the starship is time. Even the 2 or 3 wealthy guests who were originally shopping around in the room with the intention of buying, their eyes lit up and they set their sights on Baikin Chun's big apple. The stall owner was so angry that he almost vomited blood because he lost his business. He thought that they would be able to benefit from this little girl's huge traffic, but now, With so little profit, they have snatched away all their original customers. But no matter how angry they were and vomited blood, they couldn't change the queue in front of Bai Qianchun's stall. Even when Bai Qianchun started planting cherries and strawberries in double and triple openings, the people who had already bought the big apple and were about to leave immediately with some cleverness, he turned his feet and returned to the embrace of the big team. It is worth mentioning that since Bai Qianchun showed an astonishing growth rate, the guests in the queue no longer tried to make friends and make jokes to make the people in front buy less. After hearing the news, the nobles who wanted to bully others and jump in the queue also calmed down. Everyone lined up as quietly as a chicken. When it was their turn, they would consciously go up and pick it themselves, transfer money quickly, and do the whole process by themselves. Bai Qianchun only needed to bury the seeds to induce birth. It can be said that she was very well behaved and obedient. This is probably the power of strength. Bai Qianchun showed such a skill, which undoubtedly proves that she is an unpredictable wood attribute user, and the strong are not easy to offend. Du Li originally planned to be a busy picker and tallyman, but now there is no need for him to intervene at all. The customers will grab the work themselves and do it happily. So he had to hold the flower pot and slowly find a corner to continue growing his own green vegetables. Facing the sad eyes of a group of stall owners, Bai Qianchun kept feeling happy, and she felt even more happy when she heard the sound of star coins arriving in her account. However, the eyes between them and Gao Yang were too hot. In view of the fact that everyone is a compatriot with wood powers, she is still the master of Muyuan Star, and these people may still be her subordinates in the future, so she spoke out of kindness, "Everyone, I only sell 3 kinds of fruits, apples, cherries, and strawberries. If you need vegetables or other fruits, you can go to other stalls." The guests laughed and said hello repeatedly to save face. As a result, the surrounding stalls began to gain business one after another. The smart stall owners immediately switched to growing vegetables and started growing vegetables on the spot. Stall owner number 9 also hurriedly abandoned his little fragrant pear, which was delayed by his appearance, and quickly took out a small bag containing seeds from his arms. Who among the wood-type superpowers doesn't carry a few handfuls of various seeds with them when they go out, and he is certainly no exception. So he found the most popular cauliflower seeds and started growing them on the spot. His position closest to Bai Qianchun means he has the upper hand. Not to mention, his business is really good with this east wind. Not compared to Bai Qianchun, the big salesman, he is the most dazzling kid in the room. After each cauliflower gave birth to a baby and he sold each one, he finally experienced the pleasant feeling that Bai Qianchun kept giving birth to. Looking back at his beloved small fragrant pears, he clutched his chest and regretted it. If he had known he would have wanted more small fragrant pears, wouldn't it be fragrant to grow cauliflower? It was decided that cauliflower would be his new favorite from now on. Just when the stall owners and guests were enjoying their business, 2 young men who were all in embarrassment suddenly burst in from outside the door. They were supporting each other, with large blood stains on their bodies. They were in a panic, with hurried steps and a look on their faces. He shouted in terror, "Hurry, close the door quickly, close the door quickly, they are coming after us." Everyone in the room turned their heads, with questions on their foreheads. What happened? Who's coming after me? At this moment, 7 or 8 tall and burly men wearing masks and black clothes hurriedly caught up with them. Each of them held daggers, long knives, and other cold weapons in their hands, and the cold blades were still stained with bright red. Thick blood dripped onto the ground, dripping all the way. As soon as these people appeared, their malicious aura and strong smell of blood immediately rushed towards them. The pupils of the people closest to the door suddenly shrank, and their faces turned pale. Star pirates. The scene was silent for a moment, and then there was an uproar and panic, and everyone quickly fled into the room. When the 7 or 8 ferocious villains saw the room full of people, they did not panic. Instead, they laughed sinisterly, "That's just right. With so many timid lambs, we don't have to worry about not having enough hostages. They held knives in their hands, faced countless panic-wary looks, and did not hide their cruelty and malice at all. They stepped on the top of everyone's hearts and moved towards them step by step. The ferocious smile and unscrupulous eyes looked at everyone in the room one by one, as if they were looking for prey, and the hair of those who looked at them trembled. The timid one almost collapsed from fright. Isn't it said that the Sheng family starship is the safest? Where did these interstellar pirates sneak in from? There wasn't even a siren. Where were the Sheng family guards? The room was full of complaints and howls. In comparison, the two teenagers who originally ran in were calmer. Although their faces were pale and their bodies were trembling, they gritted their teeth and held back from screaming. One of them, Bai Qian-chun, also knew him as the boy with light powers who had rescued Du Le before. His handsome face was pale, his eyes were red, but suddenly there was a flash of determination in his eyes. Then he was seen suddenly running out of the crowd, opening his arms to block the tip of Sen Leng's knife. "Don't hurt other people, come at me." There was an uncontrollable tremor in his voice, and his immature shoulders were tense. Although he was scared, the young man still tried to straighten his back, and his clear black eyes stared at the villain in front of him, full of indomitable spirit, of firmness. The young man who was with him, who was not too old and looked very handsome, had an anxious look on his face. Seeing this, he gritted his teeth, stamped his feet, and ran out with urgency, shouting, "Cousin, it's none of your business, it's all because of my curiosity that I dragged you secretly to watch the fun and provoke them. If you want to kill me first."